Hello, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And welcome to the month of February. And in this month's TOEIC lesson, we're going to be talking about people who have a little trouble getting to sleep. I think most of us work really hard here in Taiwan, going to school, going to work, fighting traffic and stuff like that. So most of us are really, really tired at the end of the day, and sleep is not much of a problem for us. But for some people, it is a problem, and that problem is called insomnia.
We're going to be talking about people who are sleep-starved. Wow, you just don't get enough sleep.
Yeah, we'll talk about a condition that Tony is suffering from here as he goes to talk to his doctor, Dr. Morrison, at her clinic. So let's listen to their conversation right now. Let's listen to our lesson in its entirety, and then we'll come back to discuss it. Dr. Morrison is at her clinic with Tony, a patient.
Well, Tony, any changes since you last came in?
I'm afraid not. I'm still only sleeping a couple of hours each night. I'm constantly exhausted.
I'm sorry things haven't improved.
I've tried so many medications, and I don't know what else to do. In other words, I feel totally helpless.
Don't despair. You've still got options. I want to discuss an opportunity with you that may be beneficial. Have you ever participated in a sleep study? A team at Taiwan Medical College is conducting one that you'd likely qualify for.
Can't say I've done a sleep study before. What would that involve?
You'll sleep in a lab for a night. You'll read and relax a while, and then the researchers will attach sensors to you just before you try to sleep. A lab technician will be on hand to monitor sensor information and help you out during the night. The study ends in the morning.
That sounds simple enough. Should I do anything different beforehand, like not eat certain foods?
Follow your normal routine as best as you can, but avoid caffeine after noon that day. Also, bring your own clothes and toiletries.
All right, I'll try this out. What about the results?
The university will send them to me, and then I'll discuss them with you. We should be able to learn much more about your sleep patterns.
That sounds reassuring. Thanks, doctor. Okay, let's get to it. Let's discuss the contents of today's lesson. The title is Suggestion to a Sleep-Starved Patient, a Sleep Study. So, of course, a suggestion is when you give someone advice, okay? Especially if you know about something and that other person doesn't really know a lot about that thing. So, yeah, let me give you a suggestion, okay? I know you're trying hard to do this, but I've done this myself before. So, yeah, I have a suggestion for you.
You could also just substitute the word advice for suggestion. Advice is something that someone gives you. They've probably had more experience with it than you have, so they want to help you out by giving you some advice. Remember, advice is a non-count, so you have to say some advice. You can't say an advice or advice. It needs to be some advice, and that's advice. The noun form. So we're going to be talking about what they're calling a sleep study. I know about these. My doctor, when I was in New York, thought I might have sleep apnea for a while. So I have participated in some of these sleep studies. So we've got Dr. Morrison, that's my voice. And then Tom, of course, is pretending to be Tony.
I'm glad I'm not actually Tony because I don't really want to have the problem that he has here. But in any case here, yes, Dr. Morrison is at her clinic. She's not at the hospital. She's got a private clinic here. And Tony has gone to see her with his doctor's appointment with her. And Dr. Morrison begins the conversation. She says, "Well, Tony, any changes since you last come in?" She could also have said, "Have there there been any changes since you last came in? So we can tell by her question that Tony has been there to see her before. Maybe she gave him some medicine or something like that, or gave him some advice. So he's come back for a follow-up appointment with the doctor, and of course she wants to know if his situation has improved at all.
Unfortunately for him, it hasn't. So he says, I'm afraid not. He's still only sleeping a couple of hours each night. And if you don't sleep enough, you guys know how you feel. You kind of feel, like you're drugged. You're slow. Sometimes it affects your mood. You're not very happy. Your brain doesn't work as quickly. Some of you stay up all night studying for tests, which isn't a good idea because when you're taking the test, your brain is not at its peak performing level, you could say. So try to get some sleep before tests, guys. But no, he's still only sleeping a couple of hours each night, and he's always exhausted. Constantly means always. And exhausted is a word you use that's more than just being tired. Oh, I'm tired. If you're exhausted, you have no energy at all.
Right, exhausted. Okay, and remember, something that makes you exhausted is exhausting. Boy, this job is really exhausting, so therefore I feel exhausted from doing this job.
Yeah, don't say you're exhausting. Oh, I'm exhausting. People will laugh.
Yeah, that's used incorrectly there. So yeah, I'm exhausted. I feel really tired. And Dr. Morrison says, well, I'm sorry things haven't improved. And Tony says, well, I've tried so many medications and I don't know what else to do. In other words, I feel totally helpless. So, of course, when the doctor gives you a prescription, they will usually be, or that prescription will usually be for some medications, okay? Different kinds of pills, capsules, and things like that that you get from a pharmacy because you've got the prescription from the doctor, okay? So you go down there and you get your medications and you take them at certain times during the day, and they're supposed to help you with your condition. But he has tried so many different kinds of medications, and he's tried many other things. He's at the end of his rope. He doesn't know what to do. And then he just says, in other words, I feel really helpless. In other words means you're just going to simplify what you mean. Basically, what I'm saying is, I just don't know what to do. I feel helpless.
So what's the difference between medicine and medication? Medicine is typically non-count. Try not to say medicines. Oh, the doctor gave me a lot of medicines. No, the doctor gave me different types of medicine that I could try. And then medication, as you can see, it can be countable, medications. But typically, I like to say they're pretty much the same thing. Yeah, I got some medications from my doctor. If I'm speaking, though, to a friend, I usually just talk about medicine. Yeah, I've tried all different kinds of medicine, and none of them are working. So he's tried lots of things, probably sleeping pills. I know that the doctors here are very careful about giving sleeping pills to patients because some of them will become addictive for you, and that's not good either. So he doesn't know what else to do. He feels helpless. That's kind of a hard position, a hard feeling to be in, where you just feel like it'll never get better.
Right, so Dr. Morrison, of course, wants to encourage him. So she says, don't despair.
No.
You've still got options. So here we've got the word despair. That could be both a noun and a verb. It's being used as a verb here. Basically, it means don't lose hope. Don't give up. There's still hope for you. You've got other choices. There are some other things you can try.
What is one of the suggestions she has? Well, here's one. She says, have you ever participated in a sleep study? So it's a research project for some of these research doctors. She says there's a team at Taiwan Medical College, and they're conducting one that you'd likely qualify for. We often use this verb conduct when we're talking about research or, conduct research, medicines, conduct an orchestra. But here, they're just carrying something out. They're progressing or proceeding with something, and here they're proceeding with some research. They're conducting some research, conducting a study. if you qualify for something, that means that you have the right qualifications for something. So you have the right conditions or you have the right background. Here, they're probably looking for people who don't sleep well, who've had a problem with sleeping for a long time. They might be looking for people in a certain age group. So there are lots of different qualifications that you need to meet in order to qualify for some of these medical studies.
Exactly. So Stephanie and myself both have permanent alien residence certificates here. And so, of course, we had to apply for them in the past. And in order to get them, we had to qualify for those certificates. We had to spend a certain amount of time in Taiwan. We have to have a certain amount of money in the banks here. We cannot have a criminal record and stuff like that. Those are qualifications. So we qualified for the permanent visas there. But here, of course, if you're able to participate in this survey or in this study, you need to qualify for it. And Tony says, can't say I've done a sleep study before. That's a short way of saying it. He just left off the personal pronoun there. I can't say I've done a sleep study before. In other words, I've never done a sleep study before. What would that involve? What do I have to do?
Or what would that entail? They'll often use that word too. He wants more information about it, doesn't he? So she kind of explains what happens. You're going to sleep in a laboratory or lab for short. And they'll have you read and relax for a while before bedtime. And then the researchers will attach something called sensors to you just before you try to sleep. A sensor is some sort of mechanical device that is measuring or is very sensitive to things like your heart rate, your breathing. It might measure his temperature, things like that. Those are sensors. If you've been to the doctor's office, you know that sometimes they'll put sensors on you. Maybe they're taking a look at your heart rate, your pulse. They'll put something on your fingers or sometimes on your chest to check your heart rate. And then she says the lab technician, someone who works there overnight, will be there on hand, which means they'll be very close to you. And if you need help, they'll be there to help you. And they're going to monitor or track, you could use that word track, the sensor information and help you out during the night. Now, once the morning arrives, the study's done. So you only have to be there one night. They can get a lot of information just from that one night and, monitoring everything that's going on in your body.
And hopefully it will be a nice comfy room with a nice comfortable bed and maybe a TV set or something like that or internet access or something like that. So he says that sounds simple enough. It does not sound very complicated. Maybe I would be interested in doing that. And he's got a question. Should I do anything different beforehand? Like not eat certain foods, for example. So here we've got the word beforehand. Before basically just means the same thing. Should I do something different before I go in there? Should I not eat something or should I eat something? Should I take a shower or something like that? Should I get a haircut? Yeah, what are some things that I should do before this study begins?
Yeah, getting a haircut will make a big difference. I'm kidding. So she says follow your normal routine, the things you do on a regular basis. That's your routine. But she does suggest that he avoid caffeine after noon that day. Caffeine is in coffee and tea and in some soda drinks like Coke. So caffeine gives you energy, but it also keeps you awake. So it's difficult to sleep if you've had too much caffeine closer to bedtime. What else does she also suggest, Tom?
She says also you need to bring your own clothes and toiletries. So if you want to sleep, you might want to bring your pajamas and maybe another set of clothes for the next day or something like that. Maybe some swimming trunks or something if they've got a pool in the hospital and you want to go for a dip in the morning. I'm kidding, they're not going to have that, of course. But yes, you can bring your own clothes and your toiletries, which would include maybe toilet paper, your toothbrush. If you're a man, maybe your razor or something like that.
Shaving
if you need
cream.
to shave, stuff like that.
So Tony says, all right, I'll try this out. He agrees to it. What about the results? Well, Dr. Morrison says the university will first send the results to her, and then she'll meet with Tony and discuss those results with him, at a place, probably another appointment. We should be able to learn much more about your sleep patterns. And then Tony says that sounds reassuring. If something sounds reassuring, kind of calms down some fears that you might have. Maybe you're nervous about going to the dentist. I get nervous about going to the dentist. And maybe, someone says, oh, don't worry. Your dentist is such a gentle dentist. It's not going to hurt. Don't worry. Kind of calms you down. It reassures you that you'll not need to be so afraid. So if you reassure someone, you just say or do something to help them remove those fears and get rid of the doubts that they have so they're a lot more calm. Because if he's nervous, he's not going to sleep well.
A related word to this is assure, which means to guarantee. So I could say that, well, I assure you I'm not joking. I'm serious here. But reassuring here is if you're in a difficult situation and you want to feel comfortable and not so nervous, then they'll say something that makes you feel reassured. Oh, that's reassuring. That makes me feel much better. I'm more relaxed now and I'm more comfortable participating in this particular study. Hopefully, participating in this study will help me address my problems. So in the future, I'll be able to sleep normally and I won't feel so exhausted all the time. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation of our conversation for today. Let's now listen to our Chinese teacher, but after that, we'll come back and talk about some useful expressions and we'll have a discussion question.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。不晓得你有没有曾经失眠过呢？这失眠真的很难受，而且你越想睡，压力越大，越睡不着。好，我们今天跟明天2天呢，都要来谈谈失眠。那今天呢的课文是一个对话的形式，其实是在一间诊疗室当中，主角是 Dr. Morrison， 还有他的一个患者叫做Tony，他其实已经看诊了一阵子，但是情况并没有改善。那么 Tony 也提过呢，他自己试过了很多 medications， 试过很多药物，但是不知道到底要怎么样改善他的一个失眠的情况。好，不过讲到这边呢，我们必须要回头看到这个标题的地方有一个很重要的东西哦。标题当中在中间有一个 sleep starved， 我们的认知就是很饥饿的意思，但是它其实也有缺乏的意思，所以在标题当中 sleep starved 指的是缺乏睡眠，也就是我们所谓失眠的意思。好，接下来我们要看到重点哦，在对话当中第3个 Dr. Morrison 的地方，他觉得呢其实还有别的选择。对于 Tony 来说，虽然试过很多的 medication， 但是他会希望他不要绝望，因为医生总是会鼓励病人。所以呢，这个 Dr. Morrison 说 Don't despair, you've still got options， 还有别的选择啊。我们在第3个 Dr. Morrison 的第2句的地方，我们来特别注意一下。中文的意思是说呢，因为医生想要跟病患讨论一个可能还有帮助的机会。那么在英文我们回过头来看 I want to discuss an opportunity with you， 这一句我们从后面的最后的 that 到句尾可以左右括号。那么左右括号这里就是一个关系子句， that 这个关系词比较特别，它的先行词要往前面去跳，指的是 an opportunity， 有一个机会，这个机会呢可能对你有帮助， that may be beneficial。 而前面这里的 with you 呢是跟着上面动词的 discuss something with someone。 好，所以接着呢，这个是一个睡眠研究Sleep Study 的一种机会，因为台湾医疗大学的一个团队呢正在进行一项研究，而 Tony 可能会有资格参加，所以我们同样在第3个 Dr. Morrison 第4句的地方，我们来看到也有一个关系子句，但是关系子句我们先抓出来是在句尾后面 that一直到结束的地方。那么这里很明显前面的 one 就是一个先行词，可是如果在句子当中看到 one 呢，通常指的是一个不特定的代名词。这所谓的不特定代名词，也就是在这句话当中其实已经出现过了这样子的一个单词， 根据上下文来判断的话 ，1 指的是某一项的睡眠实验，也就是在上一句话当中提到的 a sleep study。所以现在呢，台湾医疗大学呢正在执行这样子的一个计划，而 Tony 可能有机会有这个资格参加。括号当中我们再注意一下，有一个副词叫做 likely 在这指的是可能 probably 的意思。好，那么 Tony 就想说，哇哦，之前可能没有参加过，不过想要了解一下研究的内容到底如何呢？接下来我们在第3个 Tony 最后一个字的 involve 这个字注意一下， involve 我们通常都会说是牵扯啦，或者是参与啦，在这里指的是 contain 包含什么什么内容物的意思。好，所以接着 Dr. Morrison 就特别说明一下，原则上呢会先在实验室睡一晚，然后呢你可以看看书啦，先放松一下啦。那么接着在睡觉之前，研究人员就会把感测器装在身上。我们来看一下第4个 Dr. Morrison 当中这个第2句话里面的把什么什么粘在附着在什么什么上面，动词的 attach something to 介系词后面加上对象。好，那么之后呢会有一个 technician 一个技师在旁边监控，研究呢早上就结束了。所以听起来还蛮简单的，但是 Tony 也特别想要知道说在研究之前是不是特别需要做一些准备呢？但是第5个 Dr. Morrison 他在这里回答了，他说Follow your normal routine，尽量照着平常那个 routine 指的是例行公事，但是注意哦，不要喝咖啡因的东西，然后呢衣物跟盥洗用具这个 toiletries 就自己带咯。那么 Tony 也觉得还蛮有意思的，也想要去试试看，不过特别针对后面的 the results 研究结果到底要怎么样处理呢？ Dr. Morrison 最后就回答他了，那么大学会把结果寄给医生，那么医生会跟病患做讨论，然后就可以了解病患整个睡眠模式 sleep patterns。 不过 Tony 真的觉得这种研究真的很棒，因为可以帮助他失眠的问题，而且可以真正的了解自己的一个睡眠模式。所以 Tony 最后的回答当中，我们来看一下 reassuring 这个字。 reassuring 的动词原形 reassure R-E-A-S-S-U-R-E 是让人放心，让人不担心的意思。跟它长得很像的动词另外有一个叫做 assure A-S-S-U-R-E， 它的用法是 assure someone of something 或者是 assure someone that， 它的语义是向某人保证什么什么。例如我可以跟你保证他的安全， I can assure you of her safety， 就可以用这个 assure。好，这是我们今天的课文，明天我们还会针对失眠做更深入的了解哦。我是安娜，我们下次见。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's talk about some useful expressions here. In the conversation, we saw the doctor basically clarifying and restating ideas. Tony did this as well. If somebody says something to you and you don't quite understand it, then you kind of repeat it back to them so that you make sure that you understand what they said, okay? So let's see what some of these ideas are here. Number 1, this is an example sentence. It says, we'll need your agreement for the rental terms. That is, you'll have to read and sign the contract. So, yeah, the first sentence here is, we'll need your agreement for the rental terms. That might be kind of complicated. What do you mean by that? You know, it could mean a lot of things. So the person says, well, that is, or to make it simple, or in other words, I guess they use that in the conversation here, you'll have to read and sign the contract. That's putting it simply.
Yeah, we'll often say this too. So this is a clarifying phrase that you need to learn. That is, and then they'll kind of make something, as Tom said, more simplified for you to understand. Number 2, I keep throwing up and I feel very weak. In other words, I am too sick to come into work. Yeah, maybe you're on the phone with your boss and you're telling your boss you're throwing up, or vomiting is another word for that. And you feel very weak, you have no energy. But your boss still expects you to come in. So you might have to say, in other words, hey, boss, I'm too sick to come into work. So again, you're trying to make it absolutely clear. That's what clarifying means. You just make a statement even clearer the second time you try to, express your opinion or whatever you're trying to communicate. In other words, I can't come in.
Yep, that's putting it simply here. I could say something like this. I could say, oh, I am totally famished. I'm now going to get some sustenance. Okay, well, maybe you don't know what those words mean, so I could say, well, in other words, I'm going to go eat dinner, okay, because I'm hungry and I want to get something to eat. So, yeah, in other words, just sometimes means I'm just going to make this as simple as possible. Now, here's the third one. The sentence says, I feel I've been banging my head against a wall trying to learn this program. What I mean to say is, I really need some help. So this is another phrase you can use. Well, what I mean to say is, or you could also say, what I mean is, etc., if you're afraid the person didn't understand you the first time.
Yeah, this is a really good and helpful phrase for us, too. So, yeah, if you're banging your head against a wall, it means you're really, really frustrated. You've tried everything, nothing's working. So that's a good idiom to put into your vocabulary. It's a nice one. Okay, we're here to the discussion questions, Tom. Have you ever had a medical problem that was difficult to solve? Or do you know someone else who has? And what did you or the other person do about it?
Well, for many years, I had problems with my right knee, okay? It was always getting sore when I went jogging, and I never really knew why. I went to see the doctor. They took an x-ray, but they really couldn't tell me what was wrong. It wasn't until it really got bad, like last year, and I almost couldn't walk, that I went to the doctor and had an x-ray and a scan, and then I found out that, yes, pretty much all my cartilage in my knee is gone, so I probably need to have reconstruction surgery, okay? How about you?
Reconstructive surgery, yeah. Me? Yeah. I got really sick one winter when I was still singing professionally, and I kept getting all these colds, and I didn't know what was wrong. 6 months went by, and I still couldn't sing. And then one day, they did more tests, and finally the doctor said, oh, you've got adult onset asthma. So it kind of changed my life at that point.
Wow,
so
asthma.
Sometimes it takes finding the right doctor. Some doctors are more willing to keep trying different things, and others are busy and just want you to leave. So find the right doctor for yourself. You're in charge of your health, not your doctor. So make
do some
sure
research yourself. Yeah, for sure.
Make sure you find the right person who really wants to solve the problem. Okay, guys, that's all for today. We've got another day in this particular TOEIC unit, and we're going to be talking about an insomnia study. We hope you'll join us then. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.